Hello everybody, welcome to today's live where we are talking about the divine feminine. While we wait for everybody to come into the live and get started, I'm going to start by pulling a card. So if you were on yesterday's live or you watched the cacao ceremony episode, you saw me draw from this deck, Spiritual AF. And we're going to do another drawing today. If you're new here, my name is Madison. I am an Akashic Records reader, a medium, a Reiki master. I read tarot cards, oracle cards. I do a little bit of everything in the spiritual realm. And I'm also expanding my knowledge right now from the world of just kind of spirituality into more metaphysical as well. So I'm definitely going to be talking about more metaphysical concepts in the coming week. I don't know if you guys can hear the train in the background, but the train was coming by right as I was saying that. And it's so crazy because I always know that the train comes by whenever I'm saying something that's important, right? Like if I'm doing a virtual reading at home with somebody, if the train comes by, that's my sign that that's a really important message for them and to like spend a lot of time and energy on that message, right? So I think that was my spirit guide's way of being like, yes, you've been saying you're going to start doing more metaphysical. When you're going to start, girl? I've been debating basically if I'm going to, I don't know, go back and get like an actual degree in metaphysics, if I'm wanting to do that, or if I'm wanting to do more like self-education through books and channeling on metaphysical topics. So that's kind of where I'm maybe unsure which way to go right there. So I think that's a little bit of my hesitation. But anyways, just always like to share kind of real life things with you guys, real life things that I am working on, learning more about, all of that. Okay, so our card, these are funny because they're sort of sassy, right? So this one says, self-care isn't selfish. If you are really going to take care of yourself today, what would you do? So why aren't you doing that? No healthy person wants you to sacrifice yourself for them. Really, anyone who wants that from you is a selfish jerk. Don't assume that the people in your life are selfish jerks who can't handle you doing what you need to do for yourself. I love this message, and it's actually super resonant of the space that I'm in right now. I'm in a big period of learning that there's a lot of people that want and expect a lot of things from me, and it's not my job to do or, you know, whatever that is. It's my job to show up and do what I'm supposed to do and, you know, create the life that I'm supposed to have. And it's not selfish for me to take care of myself instead of constantly like self-sacrificing, because this routine we have of like thinking we have to self-sacrifice to get people to love us or whatever, it's coming from a place of insecurity. And so I definitely think that's what this card is about. I was on a run this morning and I very much had this download that was like, I would always, but prior, I would say yes to things I meant to say no to because I felt like I had to in order to be accepted, to be loved, whatever, right? And it's this like age-old narrative that I think we're being really called to just break free of from right now. So if you're here on the live, hello. So happy you guys joined us. I am trying to do a live every day for the next, well, a total of 31 days. So today I think is day 3, and I'm doing a series called 31 Days of Spirituality, where I am talking about 31 different spiritual concepts that I have learned and work with in the process of going from somebody who was really struggling with addiction and depression and mental health to now somebody who has a spiritual business, and kind of all the modalities that took me from one kind of, you know, bad place in life to a much better place in life. So today we're talking about the divine feminine. So if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, I have a book club actually going right now on the divine feminine on this book called You're a Goddess. And I wanted to talk about the divine feminine today because right now we're seeing a huge shift of people being called out of the divine masculine into the divine feminine. And let's talk about what I mean by that before we get into how this is really happening. So right now our world is very hustle culture, work harder, climb the corporate ladder. That's sort of what's ingrained in us. Money equals power. All of these very masculine concepts, right? And when you think about a masculine concept, it's always something that's tied to you have to do something in order to be worthy or in order to receive or whatever that looks like. And in the divine feminine, it's more focused on you already are enough by existing. You're already inherently abundant. You don't have to constantly work harder and hustle and do all this stuff to make yourself better or whatever. It's much more the concept of trusting in the flow of life rather than being like, okay, I have to do and control and always be busy and all of that. And my background, I actually, before I started doing this sort of work, I did 10 years in corporate HR. So that is very much, for a while, I was caught up in that 3D matrix game of trying to climb the corporate ladder and make all the money and all this stuff, right? And it was almost like the more that I tried to continue to climb the ladder and do all these worldly things, the more unhappy I became. And so finally I realized, like, maybe this isn't it, right? Like, maybe being in a space of always thinking that I have to hustle, do more, create more, work harder, impress more people, maybe that's not actually a reality that serves me. And maybe there is actually a different reality that starts to serve me a little bit more. And a big thing that I've been working on is trying to just like break out of this hustle culture mindset and instead step into the reality that, like, we as humans are abundant. We are abundant creatures, and we don't have to do all of these different things in order to feel worthy of love or feel worthy of acceptance, all of that. I'm getting a lot of comments. Hello, hello. So good to see all of you guys in the chat. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, so let's talk about what the divine feminine energy is like. So in the divine masculine, again, it's very much you have to do something in order to be worthy or in order to be abundant. There's also a lot of rational, logical, problem-solving thinking, all sorts of that also comes up in the masculine. When we're working with the divine feminine, we're doing a lot less of that energy. So divine feminine is really the energy of intuition. It's the energy of slowing down, of listening to your body and trusting that you already are abundant and you don't have to do more to be worthy of abundance. It's also the concept of being still, allowing time for mindfulness, allowing time for connection, whether it be a spiritual connection or connection in romantic relationships or family relationships, whatever, right? Masculine is more focused on do, create. Feminine is more focused on be, connect, still, feel, emotions, divine love, intuition. And there's also a really big difference in masculine and feminine energy because feminine energy is a lot more tied to the energy of knowing that things are already on their way and knowing that good things are always coming to you and always working out, rather than thinking, again, that you have to do more, hustle, or whatever. So another big trait of the feminine is intuition, or experiencing things that defy logic, that define the rational, the problem solving, and knowing that those things are signs from God, the universe, whatever you believe in, instead of being like, oh, that's coincidence. Like, one thing that I very firmly believe since doing spiritual work, nothing is a coincidence. Literally nothing is a coincidence. Everything is either a divine plan, a divine timing, or karma, or cause and effect of things that you created for yourself, right? And that's hard to hear because a lot of times we think like, oh, poor me. I used to be somebody who was really stuck in like the victim mindset and like the victim mentality of like, oh, if only this would have been different or this person hadn't done that. And it's like, no. If you want to truly heal, you have to take full accountability for your life wherever you're at, even if that's not somewhere that you want to be. And that was something that was really hard for me because whenever I started to realize that I had created a life for myself I didn't love. I was in a job that I hated. I was addicted to alcohol, pills, all sorts of different things. And I had no spiritual connection. And I started to realize like, oh, I built this life for myself and I don't like it. I have all the things the world's told me that I have to have, but none of those things actually mean anything. And I don't at all feel happy or content or any of that, right? So I started to do a lot more spiritual work. I started learning how to read the Akashic records. I started learning how to tap more into my medium abilities and act as a channel for other people. I started doing all of this work, right? And the more I stepped out of that masculine energy into more of this divine feminine energy, the more I noticed more peace and contentment. And a big thing too is like just the faith concept in the divine feminine, right? Everything's always working out. You're always where you're supposed to be. Good things are always coming to you. If you're going through something, it's to teach you something, not to hurt you, right? All of these different concepts that maybe we struggle to understand a little bit when we're stuck in the masculine or in the 3D world. I do want to, however, highlight you're not supposed to like get rid of every masculine trait and only be in just the divine feminine. You definitely have to have a balance of the two, but right now a lot of people are seeing things like climbing the corporate ladder and the fear programming and religion and all of these things that were masculine concepts. They haven't really worked, right? And so now people are like, well, what else is out there? Let's kind of dabble in, you know, what other things are out there that's maybe a different energy. And I think that's a big part of why we're seeing this shift from the masculine into the feminine, is there's a lot of people just like me that have tried the corporate ladder and have tried the hustling and have tried the trying to get worth through relationships and people pleasing and overextending, and realize that's not the answer, right? And then you're eventually like, okay, well, if that's not the answer, what is the answer? And for me, the more that I stepped into the concept of being able to trust in the flow of life, connect with my spirit guides, meditate, go into my Akashic records, start to help awaken other people that also want to know and learn and do the same things that I'm doing. Once I started doing that, I literally quantum leaped into a whole different timeline that was so much more fulfilling for me than anything that I'd ever experienced before, trying to feed into the matrix programming, right? So many people are feeling drawn to shift out of masculine into feminine because a lot of these masculine structures, the way the patriarchy is set up, they're not working, right? If they were working, the world would be in a different place, and it's not, so here we are. And so that's why so many people are like, okay, what we've been doing for all these thousands of years as humans, not working, what other options are out there? And that's a lot of why people are drawn to the divine feminine. That's a lot about what this book talks about. You're a goddess. It talks about how there are so many different divine feminine energies that we can work with, connect with, meditate on, all of this, and we don't even know that they exist. We don't even know that there's these goddesses, these divine feminine energies out there that are literally already working to protect us, already showing up and helping us in our day-to-day life. And so a big thing that I've done to try to incorporate divine feminine into my life is through this book. So I have a book club on this book, and we meet every single month. The concept of this book is, at the beginning, it talks about the divine feminine, what it is, how it shows up in people's lives, and then it actually takes you through 9 different goddesses. So you actually go through the process of connecting with 9 different goddesses, being able to tap into who these goddesses are, where they originate, and each goddess is very specific on helping you work through a specific period of life. So basically, right now we're going through for the next 9 months and doing a goddess a month, bringing in that goddess energy, connecting with that goddess, and then moving on to the next one. If you're gonna read this book, I would definitely recommend doing it that way. Before I started the book club, I read the book on my own, and I remember I was on the plane. I was going to Joshua Tree, California, and I read like 4 goddesses on the plane. And it's truly the process of when you're working with a goddess, you're experiencing all the things that that goddess brings up in terms of things you need to clear, things you need to realize about yourself, things that might be uncomfortable for you to see about yourself. So I would definitely not recommend doing that. And I would definitely recommend doing like 1 a month, because I did 4 on the plane and I just felt like really like I did too much, right? From an energetic standpoint, this book is not one that's meant to be sat down and read in a day. It's meant to probably be read and worked on and implemented into life over, you know, what was shown to me was maybe like a year time span, right? So I'm going to tell you guys about some of my favorite goddesses that we have been working with in this book. And if you live in Greensboro, I am doing the next book club meeting on July the 20th at 6 p.m., which is this coming Sunday from the day that I'm recording this. But if you see this video later and you want to join the book club, there will be information on my Instagram, and all of my socials are at A Holistic Awakening on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. So if you ever want to find me on other platforms or see more of my short form content, that's where you can find a lot of that. Okay, so let's talk about goddess energy. So the first goddess that we worked with in this book is the goddess Kali. And the goddess Kali is all about transformation, death and rebirth, bringing up things that maybe you had rose-colored glasses on, maybe things that were parts of your reality that maybe you weren't ready to see yet. It's all about going through that energy. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it wasn't the most fun. Like, that was definitely a time of working with Kali where a lot of things that I had been maybe trying to make better in my mind or justify in my mind or whatever about my current life situations, all of those things came up to the point where it was like, yeah, you can't pretend like this isn't that bad anymore, because this might actually be something that maybe you need to remove from your life in the future, right? So it brought up a lot of stuff, right? So the first goddess, I was like, oh, but nonetheless, I was able to heal, move, and work through all of that and feel like I could really transform into somebody who doesn't feel obligated to maybe keep people or places or things in my life just because those people feel like they want me in their life, if that makes sense. Very much, again, the people pleaser in me, right? I never want to hurt people or let people down, but then by doing that, a lot of times I have people in my life that maybe aren't a fit for the future version of me that I need to be able to create and bring in, you know? Okay, next goddess I wanted to talk to you guys about. This is fascinating. So in the book, we also go and connect with the Avalon priestesses. So the Avalon priestesses, if you think about Glastonbury, Glastonbury is a spiritual or sacred site in the world. We have, you know, so many sacred sites all over the world, and the Avalon priestesses would be tied to the Glastonbury area. And so the concept of that Avalon priestesses is there are 9 of them. So in a lot of spiritual context, there are sort of things in 9s. So there are 9 Avalon priestesses, and they are really focused on stillness and awakening. So we may be in a period where maybe we've awakened a little bit, but maybe there's more we need to awaken to, and that's sort of when they come in. So whenever I started working with the Avalon priestesses, it was definitely a point for me where I feel like I quantum leaped into new knowledge in the spiritual realm, right? And here's what I mean by that. It's almost like there were bits and pieces of the spiritual world that I had heard about, but I didn't really know that much about. And then all of a sudden, all the teachers that I needed to be able to explore those topics further all just kind of materialized in my life, right? And it was something that really allowed me to be able to go deeper. But I also very much realized in this process that in order to go deeper, I gotta chill out, right? Like, I'm one of those people, I'm always going from task to task, from thing to thing, again, trying to deprogram from that masculine energy. And the more you step into the feminine, the more you step into that energy of you really can't hustle and create all the time because you're gonna burn yourself out. So you have to take the time for stillness for your own personal and professional development, you know, especially if you're somebody who is trying to run a business, or even if you're not, you always have to have time for that stillness and that time for you to really look within, because without that, your spirit guides aren't going to reveal new things to you, because they're sort of like, you're too busy for us to be revealing things to you, so whenever you're not busy, that's when we'll come in. So that's what I find a lot of times is I'll be like, oh, I need an answer on this, but then I'm so busy, and then I'll sit in meditation and ask my guides for that answer. And it'll come through just like that, right? And I'm like, why is it so hard for me to get this? And they're like, you don't get how hard it is for us to try to communicate with human you when you're in this cycle of always being busy and always jumping from one thing to the next. Like, our messages don't always get to you. You have to take the time to sit in silence and sit in meditation to truly get all the messages and downloads that your guides have. And that was something that was hard for me to learn and accept, right? A big way that I've been doing it is I have started opening my Akashic records whenever I go for a walk. So there's a trail by my house. I'll leave. Whenever I leave, I'll say my Akashic prayer to open my records, and then I'll just be in my Akashic record with my spirit guide the whole time that I'm doing my walk. If you're new to the Akashic records, I don't know that I would recommend this. I definitely would say, you know, first time tapping into the Akashic record, normally kind of like laying down in that channeled meditation state is best. But as you get maybe more comfortable working in the records, more used to the energy, then you can kind of take it on the go, if that makes sense. So that is one thing that I've been doing, and honestly, so much has been coming through about what I'm supposed to be building, creating, things for the long term, things for the future. Retreats is a big thing that's been coming up. If you guys are interested in spiritual or wellness or holistic retreats, I'm kind of being shown in the Akashic records I'm supposed to do several retreats next year, right? I already have the Sedona retreat in September. If you are new here, I have a retreat in Sedona in September. I think we have one spot left. So if anybody wants to join, we definitely have one spot left at the time I'm doing this live video. So I'll link all of that information in the show notes. It is a 6-day retreat. So we leave on Sunday and we come back on Friday. So it is like a full like immersion week of spiritual work, Akashic records, cacao ceremonies, doing energy work in a vortex. I'm so excited about this because it's my very first retreat. I am hosting it with one of my girlfriends, Shannon, who also is a Reiki master, sound healer, a yoga instructor. She is actually now somebody who can do past life regression. So like between the two of us, we have like so many spiritual gifts, and I really felt drawn to bring people back to where my spiritual awakening happened. And my spiritual awakening, I would say, that sort of quantum leaped me into doing what I'm doing today happened in Sedona. I was on this healing trip after I got sober, after I got divorced, where I knew that I was supposed to be doing something with my gifts and helping others, and like I didn't know what it was, and it felt like so crazy and silly to say that out loud. And I went and I did energy work with a healer in Sedona in a vortex, and immediately she came through with this message that was the same message I'd been getting in meditation from my guides, right? And it sort of catapulted me into almost getting the confidence to step into that higher timeline. And also she cleared out so much of trapped and stuck energy that was keeping me from being able to move to that next point. So we're going to recreate something like that there at the Vortexes in Sedona. We are staying not too far from Cathedral Rock. So Cathedral Rock is another spiritual site there. So again, like so much spiritual work. We're also going to go to the Grand Canyon as well. So literally a combination of fun, outdoor, spiritual, deeper connection, soul purpose work, all of that. So if that's up your alley, would love to have you join us in Sedona, but a lot more like that to come is what I'm being shown. Like my guides are very much saying that I maybe next year might have, 3, 4, 5 retreats that I offer that are going to be specifically helping people to ascend, right? To get out of this 3D reality and go into their spiritual gifts, to go into a spiritual awakening, to go into a period of healing and releasing things from this life, from past lives. And so a lot more to come on that. Some of the places that were some of the tentative things. I don't have links ready for these, but thinking about a mountain retreat in the North Carolina mountains, probably around the new year, like maybe arrive on New Year's Day, be there for 3, 4 days. That'll be kind of like a long weekend retreat. And then in May, I am thinking of, or sort of working and partnering with somebody, kind of soft launch on a retreat to Italy that will be a wellness retreat in Italy. We'll be doing a lot of meditations and higher self work and all of that. So if those are things you guys are interested in, would love to have you join us, would love to meet you, and I will be keeping you guys up to date as those things start to kind of flow through. So one more goddess I wanted to talk to you guys about today before we wrap up. The last goddess is, in my opinion, one of maybe the most misunderstood goddesses. So let's talk about Hecate. So Hecate is a goddess that if you are pagan, you probably are very familiar with the goddess Hecate. If you're not, you maybe think of this goddess as maybe somebody who's gotten a bad rap, right? Like Hecate is sort of like the goddess of the witches, if that makes sense. So there are a lot of people that maybe if you were brought up in like traditional religion, I was brought up Southern Baptist, Hecate was very much like a taboo goddess to work with. And the more I learned about her, the more I was like, oh, she's literally just like one of the old wise medicine healers, medicine women, energy healers that now we tell people that that's not okay because we want them to go with Western medicine and programming and all this stuff in the Matrix, instead of acknowledging that we do have the ability to heal ourselves through energy work, through herbs, all this sort of stuff, right? So there is a ton of really cool stuff, but Hecate is definitely somebody who also is really drawn to helping you step into your gifts and your power and be really unapologetic about it. So if that is something that you're working on, definitely great goddess to look up there. Okay, I am going to wrap up. I just wanted to see if there were, hello, I hear you. I was meant to see this. Thanks, sis. Stay safe. Thank you. I'm so glad you popped on for the live. Yeah, I always set all of my intentions around all of my stuff on social media that my stuff goes out to whoever needs to see it. I don't care if that's 1 people or 1 million people, just whoever my videos are meant to see. That's who I kind of always set up that energy with my guides before I hop on. Like, whoever's supposed to see this, please allow them to be drawn to my page or to see my live or for me to pop up or, you know, whatever. Because I very much believe we all, in terms of like spirituality and ascension, we all have our own maybe audiences, if that makes sense. And my goal is definitely not to be here to appeal to everybody. It's more here to appeal to the people that are truly wanting to go deeper in spiritual work. And so if that is you, then I'm so happy that you found this live and this page today. So affirmations, I wanted to wrap up with just some divine feminine affirmations. You can say these out loud. You can save this video and come back to these during a time where you might want to spend some time in affirmation work. But affirmations and stepping into the energy that you're trying to embody is an incredible way to really start to embody that energy a little bit quicker. So here's what we're gonna do. If you are watching live, you can go ahead and do this. If you are tuning in later, you can absolutely do this as well. But what we're gonna do is we are gonna take a couple clearing breaths. What I love to do is visualize myself inhaling light and love and exhaling stress, and inhaling light and love and exhaling stress. And then once I've done that, normally what I like to do is hands on the heart, and that's how I do a lot of my affirmations, because a lot of affirmations are really focused on the energy of opening the heart chakra to be able to receive, right? So as we step into opening up and accepting in the divine feminine, here are some great affirmations you can say. First one, I trust the flow of my life. I trust in divine timing. It is safe for me to be still. It is safe for me to be present. I don't always have to be working. It is safe for me to rest. It is safe for me to take time to heal. I allow myself to be more in tune with my intuition. I allow myself to activate into a new timeline of divine feminine energy. You can come back to those affirmations anytime you would like to, or anytime you need to. If you want to save this video, then you'll be able to access it pretty easily. But affirmations are a great way to start rewiring your mindset. I always recommend you do some clearing breaths before you go into your affirmations. But that is what I had for you guys today on the Divine Feminine. Thank you so much for tuning in to 31 Days to Spiritual Awakening, a series where I am teaching you guys all of the different things that helped me go from somebody that was stuck in addiction and mental health challenges to somebody who is now fully working in my spiritual gifts. So we're going to be going through a different topic every day. This is day 3, so we've got 27 more to go. So I will see you tomorrow live on Instagram, or I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much for tuning in, and as always, happy healing.